සුපිරි අධිවේගයක් පරදා ඔබ මවිත කරවන වේගයක් විඳ ගන්න. පියවර තුනකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම් ෆයිබර් ඔප්ටික් ජාලයට එක්වන්න. slp.lk වෙත පිවිසෙන්න.
The Speaker delivers his conclusive verdict on the post of opposition leader. Speaker claims of no provisions to make a change, however contested.
You will bring parliamentary democracy to a mockery.
I don't think I bring it to a mockery.
Act of defiance. The railway strike enters third day. The government, however, stands its ground.
We are not ready to be bullied by people who stage lightning strikes of this nature.
It's the formula. Fuel price set to be hiked from midnight. Prices of octane 92 petrol and auto diesel avoid increase. Shielding investors. The Prime Minister reveals plan to draft new legislation ensuring protection for domestic investors.
We want to establish that by law. So all agencies have to report to this single window committee within a specified time.
Exodus of the mighty. Wimbledon champion Novak Djokovic dumped out of the Canadian Open by a teenager. A very good evening to you and welcome to First at 9 on Derana 27 Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. Speaker Karu Jayasuriya today informed Parliament that he is unable to make any changes to the position of the opposition leader in accordance with the existing parliamentary norms and the constitution. Announcing his decision on the post of opposition leader, he stated that the post of the opposition leader should be given to the party which won the highest number of electorates while not being part of the government's coalition.
Due
to UPFA holding certain ministerial positions in the government coalition, the constitution does not allow me to accept the MPs of the UPFA who sit in the common opposition as the opposition. Accordingly, the leader of the Lanka Tamilaru Kachchi, R. Sambandhan, whose party does not exist in the coalition of the government and has the highest number of MPs, was declared as the leader of the opposition by me on the 3rd of September back in 2015. Considering these points and in accordance with the constitution as well as parliament tradition, I, as the Speaker of Parliament, am unable to make changes regarding the position of the opposition leader. I'm not challenging your decision, but you have accepted me as the leader of this group and hence you call me for party leaders' meetings. We are here in Parliament to represent the thousands of voters in this country.
You will bring parliamentary democracy to a mockery.
I don't think I bring it to a mockery, but you are bringing it to a mockery, not me.
I request, just give me a chance to explain.
Standing orders.
ඔබතුමාගේ තීන්දුවට අශීලාචාර අභියෝගයක් කරන්න නෙමෙයි මේ හදන්නේ.
වාද විවාද කරන්න බෑ.
මම දන්නවා මරණීය දණ්ඩනය දුන්නම අත්තිකරුවගෙන් අවස්ථාවක් දෙනවා.
අවස්ථාව ස්ටාර් මෙතෙන්දි මේක අවසානයේ තියෙනවා.
නෑ ගරු කතානායකතුමනි සමා වෙන්න. ඒ අනුව ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ අපේ එක්සත් ජනතා නිදහස් සන්ධානයෙන් ඉවත් වෙලා ස්වාධීන කණ්ඩායමක් බවට පත්වන්නේ නම්
මම මේ තීරණේ දීලා තියෙන මේක අවසානයේ තියෙනවා. I'm sorry වෙනවට කන්න බෑ.
අලාපෙරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමාගේ කතාව ස්වාධීන මන්ත්‍රීවරු උඩයින් පස්සේ තීරණයක් දෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඉස්සෙල්ලා ස්වාධීන වෙන්න ඕන.
හොඳයි ගරු නෑ ඒක මම දෙන්න. මේක විවාදයක් කරන්න.
Your decision has snatched away the rights of 4 million people who voted for us.
හරි ඉවරයි.
Meanwhile, consultant in international law, attorney at law Krishma Varnasuriya is of the view that the public may well have a say on the matter concerning the position of the opposition leader. Speaking exclusively to First at 9, Varnasuriya said that Sri Lanka is governed by constitutional supremacy and not a parliamentary supremacy, which in turn empowers the people.
Firstly and primarily, it is the Speaker that decides on internal matters of Parliament. Therefore, it was right for the Honourable Speaker to make such a determination. If the matter was particularly relating to matters of Parliament, parliamentary procedure. However, there are occasions in this Republic, because of the fact that we are governed by a strict principle of separation of powers, that the judicial power of the people has been invoked even with regard to matters that are more legislative in a nature. The reason is that ours is not a parliamentary supremacy. Sri Lanka is governed by a constitutional supremacy. The absolute sovereign power of this republic is held by the people. The Lordship of the Supreme Court are very clear that in a matter that invokes a people's power. So now the recognition of an opposition in this republic, whose ultimate power is it? I believe that the people have also say in it. In my reading of the constitution, this is not a national government, because a national government must be one where the party that garners the highest number of seats in the house makes a government with another political party that contested the election, not part of a party. Remember, under the 19th Amendment, if you don't have a national government, you must be limited to 30 members of the cabinet. Now, if you don't have a national government, this cabinet is unconstitutional. In such a backdrop, can the people of this republic, who hold the sovereign power of this republic, expect a party that has only 16 members to be called the majority opposition in the party, and another party that has only 6 members? Can we recognize that party of 6 members to be the chief opposition whip, when there is a party or a set of members of parliament almost numbering 70 who are saying that they are the opposition, because this country needs opposition and there are duties of an opposition? So in my constitutional interpretation, this is not something that only pertains to the power of a speaker in the parliament to make a decision.
Minister of Finance Mangala Samaraweera today announced yet another fuel price hike in line with the government's fuel pricing formula. Under the revised prices, which will come into effect from midnight, a litre of octane 95 petrol will go up by 2 rupees, while a litre of super diesel will be increased by 1 rupee. Addressing a media briefing organised on the subject, the minister said prices of octane 92 petrol and auto diesel will not be revised within this month.
By introducing the price formula for fuel, we told the country that according to the Platts price index of Singapore and the price of the US dollar, our fuel prices will be amended on the 10th of every month. On the 6th of last July, the fuel prices were $81.67 US. By the 21st of July, we were happy that the international fuel prices showed a decrease, since it decreased from 81 to 71. But during the last few weeks, due to the crisis in the Middle East and Iran, the international fuel prices began increasing. By the 3rd of August, the fuel prices increased to the same amount it was on the 6th of July. Considering this, we are happy to say that prices of 92 octane along with auto diesel have not been revised. Octane 95 has been increased by just 2 rupees, while super diesel has been revised by just 1 rupee. The prices of fuel are still less than it was during the Rajapaksa regime.
As the railway strike enters its 3rd day today, trade unions have not yet accepted the invitation extended by the government to hold discussions pertaining to issues faced by railway employees. The strike has left the government having to call on retired railway officers in a bid to ensure train services to the public, who have been severely inconvenienced over the last 2 days. Meanwhile, speaking at a media briefing today, Minister of Finance and Mass Media Mangala Samaraweera says that the government will not be bullied by trade unions and sought patience as the government has taken a decision to increase salaries of the entire state sector within 3 months.
Several railway trade unions engaged in a strike action for the 3rd day today over the delay of the cabinet paper, which they say would rectify salary anomalies of railway employees. The government took measures to call on retired railway officers to provide railway services to the public. It is in this backdrop 8 trains departed Colombo Fort Railway Station last night. However, passengers were seen agitated as they were unable to reach their destinations on time. Meanwhile, a train plying from Colombo to Galle last night stopped in its track owing to an engine malfunction as it was passing the Kandagoda railway station. This led to a 1-hour delay and caused traffic in the area. Measures were taken to bring the train back to Kandagoda railway station for repair. Meanwhile, 10 office trains were in operation this morning. Passengers, tourists and students sitting for the advanced level examination were severely inconvenienced by the railway strike.
I don't like it. I'm a tourist and I want to travel over Sri Lanka. So yeah, we have to take the bus.
But the train isn't working Unfortunately, it's bad because we have to drive with a taxi or by bus.
අපෝ ස්ට්‍රයික් එක නම් අතපා කරන්න මේගොල්ලෝ කරන හරි අසාධාරණ වැඩක් මේක.
දෙන ඉල්ලීම දීලා මේක ඉවරයක් කරන්න අපි තමයි පිටවට පත්තලා ඉන්නේ. එක්සෑම් දවසේම ස්ට්‍රයික් කරපුවා නම් ඉතින් වැරදි. මේ දවස් ටික හරි නැවතුවා නම් හොඳයි අපිට පාඩම් කරගන්නත් වෙලාමදි. කෝච්චි ස්ට්‍රයික් එක මේ වෙලාවෙම කරපු එක නම් ඉතින් හරි අසාධාරණයි. මොකද පොඩ්ඩක් අඩුම තරමේ ප්‍රශ්න විසඳ ගන්න තිබ්බා එළවල ඉවරුනම් පස්සේවත්.
Additional General Manager of Railways Dr. Vijay Samarasinghe has said that they expect an increase in the number of journeys by this evening. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Transport Board announced that as ticket counters at railway stations are closed, passengers have been commuting free of charge. However, passengers who possess train tickets are entitled to use free bus services provided by the SLTB with the assistance of the Army and Navy. Meanwhile, several SLTB trade unions expressed their displeasure over the government's decision to cancel their leave owing to the railway strike. They charged that since the burden of railway employees has now been transferred to bus services, they will not allow their employees to be sacrificed to fulfill one's own agendas. The union threatened a strike action in the near future. However, railway assistants who did not engage in the strike action expressed the following views.
The one who should take full responsibility of this strike is Ministers Sarath Amunugama and Rajitha Senaratne. What is the cabinet saying? The President says one thing while the Prime Minister takes a different view of the matter and the Finance Minister takes a completely different decision. If you cannot do this, then just say so. Do not agree that you will make changes and raise the hopes of unions and then change your mind. This inconveniences all unions. Now where is Minister Nimal Siripal de Silva?
Meanwhile, convening a media briefing at the Ministry of Finance today, Subject Minister Mangala Samaravira said that by next Tuesday, the ministry will present a cabinet paper to appoint a commission in a bid to rectify salary anomalies of railway employees. He also called for patience, saying not only the railway services, but measures will be taken to increase salaries of the entire state sector within 3 months.
We are not ready to be bullied by people who stage lightning strikes of this nature. If we give the salary increase these gentlemen in the railways want, it will create enormous amount of salary anomalies within the public service. That's why we cannot consider them alone. We have to consider it as one full entity because, for example, at the moment, engine drivers, etc., their basic salary is 44,600. But if we increase it to 56,000, even doctors, nurses, dentists, principals, accountants, the engineers, they will all be below them.
Meanwhile, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa highlights the government's inefficiency as the main cause behind trade union action witnessed across the state sector, including the railway service. He expressed these views following religious observances at the Bellamvilla temple last night.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa attended the Asala procession organized by the Bellamvilla temple last night.
Why is there a railway strike? When there is a problem, you must first hold discussions and resolve the matter before the strike takes place. The public has been severely inconvenienced. When you increase salaries of various sectors, which they've done, you will face an issue of salary anomalies. In the past, we did this differently. When you try to increase salaries from here and there, you will face an issue, and that is what the government is facing. This is their fault and the government's inability. We have 70 on our side, and according to the Speaker, this is not enough. The problem here is 70 is less than 16. This is the issue.
Speaking on the railway strike, several political factions put the blame on the government, citing indecisiveness and inefficiency. However, some say the reaction of the public is a sign of people's might, and such is a sign of democracy.
The public is now angered. When they are in this state of mind, they say that this service should go to the private sector. This is what the government wants. It is hard to take a country forward when we have to give salaries the way they want. Now is the time for the government to take a courageous and a stern decision on the matter.
තීරණ ගන්න සිද්ධ වේවි.
දුම්රිය සේවකයන් අතින් අඩුපාඩුවක් වුණා නම්
If there was a shortcoming on the railway sector's side, then the reason behind this is the government's inability, the indecisiveness of the government. A cabinet takes a decision to enact recommendations and then in the next meeting they say do not.
ඊළඟ කැබිනට් මණ්ඩලය කියනවා ඒක ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න බෑ කියලා. මොකද්ද මේ?
වර්ජනය වෙලාවේ
During the strike, the public took control of the situation in an unprecedented manner. This is what we like to see.
අපි කැමති එක.
Minister of Sustainable Development, Wildlife and Regional Development Field Marshal Sarat Fonseca laments the pitiful state of the country's law and order and accuses the government of manufacturing arrests to suit their political agendas. The minister levelled the accusation while speaking to media following an event held in Lanka this morning.
දේශපාලකයන්ට මැරීම් සම්බන්ධයෙන් කියලා ලොකු චෝදනාවක් මේ දවස්වල යනවා. ඊයේ යම්සි පුද්ගලයෙක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගත්තා. ඔබතුමා දකින්නේ කොහොමද මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ දිහා?
මාත් එක්ක දේශපාලනය කරන
I have many young members of the general public who support me in politics. People who do politics in Kalania are not clad in suits similar to that of those in Colombo 7. It is people like them who accompany me to jungles and rural areas with their own money. They were slinging mud at 4 such persons who did not have any criminal charges against them in the past 2 years. However, within 3 weeks, they arrested 3 for the possession of drugs and weapons. This is all political. I will fight against such injustice. Let us see what happens in the future.
බලමු ඉස්සරහට මොකද වෙන්නේ කියලා.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමා කියන්නේ මේ අය මේ අත්අඩංගුවට අරන් තියෙන්නේ මේ නීති විරෝධී ආකාරයට යම් කිසි දේවල් වුණ.
ඔව් අපි දන්න විදියෙන්.
Yes, when you are conducting a search operation, you need to have a warrant. They did not follow this.
මිනිස්සු අල්ලගෙන යන්නේ.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඔබතුමා මේ රටේ ඔබතුමා කියන හැටියට නීතිය හා සාම්‍ය හරියාකාරව ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ.
වෙන්නේ නැහැ. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Absolutely. Even when we engaged in a life and death battle with Mahinda Rajapaksa, that regime did not plant drugs in vehicles of our supporters and arrest them. If we do not stop this, it would indeed be a shame.
මේක ඉතා ලැජ්ජාසහගත තත්ත්වයක්.
The Organised Crime Division of the police informed the Colombo Magistrates Court today that the conclusive report on the investigations pertaining to the remarks made by MP Vijay Kalamaheshwaran, who called for the resurgence of the LTTE, is forwarded to the Attorney General. The police also informed court that the final report contains statements from 59 persons, including ministers, state officials and journalists. The case will be taken up again on the 19th of October. The proxy owner and the publicity officer of an event organising company who were arrested after the death of 4 youths following a party organised in Vador recently were remanded by the Panadura magistrate. The 2 suspects who were arrested by police yesterday were ordered to be remanded until the 17th of August after they were produced before court. 4 people were admitted to the Panadura hospital following a party held at a hotel in Vador on the 4th of August where they died. Preliminary medical examination revealed that reportedly died due to ingestion of a toxin, with the patients also indicating abnormally high body temperatures and heart rates. We'll join you back after this short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back to the news. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe heralds the government's move to prepare the necessary framework to introduce a development finance corporation and announces that plans are in the pipeline to draft new legislation to ensure protection of domestic investors. The Prime Minister also noted that the government is reviewing the Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement whilst assuring that the FTA will not harm the country. He expressed these views at an event held in Colombo last evening. The National CNCI Achiever Awards 2018 was held last evening under the patronage of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe. The event was organised by the Ceylon National Chamber of Industries to promote industrial growth in the country by recognising and rewarding those industrialists who have excelled in their businesses. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe delivered the keynote address at the event.
Enterprise Sri Lanka, which will make money available, and more than that, we are starting a new development finance corporation which will make development finance available. So we are starting this year. The stakeholders are the state banks plus many of our, the two former development banks as well as some of the other commercial banks. Even before we form the company, we will make 10 billion rupees available through the stakeholders as development finance. Then we are drafting new laws. We will first give the investor guarantees. Well, people are worried their industries can be nationalized at any time. Not only foreign investors, but even local investors. Into that, we are also looking at legislating for a single window for investments. We want to establish that by law. So all agencies have to report to this single window committee within a specified time periods. Also incorporating there the principles of ease of doing business.
The Prime Minister also spoke on the Sri Lanka-Singapore Free Trade Agreement, which has come under much scrutiny among the business fraternity.
Just as much as we are getting access into other markets, we also have to make arrangements with our friendly countries. A lot of people are worried about the FTA with Singapore, but I can't see the FTA at Singapore having a harmful effect, and we are monitoring it. So we review it to ensure that if there is some problem, we can take it up. We are looking at other FTAs, but long term. Many of them will not, many other product lines will not come in to the scope of it for another 10 to 20 years. So we are looking at a separate commission for trade adjustment. Then you go through that, and where tariffs have to be changed, the commission will make the recommendations. And for how long the tariff should stay high or tariff should stay low. That has been one of the big issues that has come up with the FTAs.
Economic growth in the UK picked up in the 3 months to June as construction and services were lifted by the warmer weather. According to the UK's Office for National Statistics, the economy grew by 0.4% in the period compared with a rate of 0.2% in the first quarter of the year. However, the office added that underlying growth remained modest. The UK economy grew by 0.1% in June, down from a more robust 0.3% in the previous month. Meanwhile, the UK's trade deficit noticeably worsened as exports and cars and planes declined sharply while import rose. Figures from the ONS showed the total UK trade deficit widened by £4.7 billion to £8.6 billion in the 3 months to June. The Colombo Boost ended marginally lower today, pulling away from their highest close in more than 2 weeks. The Osha Price Index fell 0.23% to 6,141.55 points from its highest close since the 25th of July hit in the previous session. Turnover was 432 million rupees today, less than half of this year's daily average of 844.4 million rupees. Here's Stefan Diavis from NDB Securities with a review of how the market performed during the past week.
During the week, the ASPI edged down by 0.04%, mainly due to price losses in counters such as Singer Sri Lanka, Sampath Bank and Dialog Axiata. Meanwhile, the S&P SL20 decreased by 0.17%. The average daily turnover for the week was up from last week to 855 million rupees. Banks, finance and insurance sector recorded the highest sector turnover during the week, whilst the second highest was seen in diversified sector. Furthermore, foreigners remained active for the week, closing as net sellers, where foreign sales accounted for 56% of the total weekly turnover.
The Sri Lankan rupee edged down today in line with other emerging market currencies, mainly due to global concerns. The rupee, which hit an intraday low of 160 rupees and 10 cents per dollar, ended at 160 rupees and 10 cents compared with yesterday's close of 159 rupees and 95 cents to 160 rupees and 10 cents. Let's now take a look at how the Sri Lankan rupee traded against other currencies during the day. Hundreds of RYANAIR flights will not take off as planned today because of pilot strikes in 5 countries. Staff in Ireland, Germany, Sweden, Belgium and the Netherlands are staging a 24-hour walkout over pay and conditions. Europe's largest low-cost carrier, which forced to recognize unions for the first time in its history and kept a strike at bay before Christmas.
RYANAIR pilots are striking in 5 European countries, forcing the cancellation of a sixth of the firm's flights during the holiday season peak. The 24-hour walkout involves staff in Germany, Sweden, Ireland, Belgium and Netherlands. About 50,000 passengers are understood to have been told of cancellations of 400 flights. The action is the largest in a series of strikes over pay and conditions. RYANAIR says it has made every effort to resolve the dispute. The Irish airline, Europe's largest low-cost carrier, averted widespread strikes before Christmas by agreeing to recognize unions for the first time in its 30-year history. But there have been protests ever since over the negotiating of collective labour agreements. About 300 RYANAIR flights were cancelled in July when cabin crews in Belgium, Portugal and Spain went on strike for 48 hours.
Let's now take a look at other stories emerging from across the globe.
An Indian parliamentarian, Narmalli Sivaprasad from the southern state of Andhra Pradesh yesterday turned up at the parliament in New Delhi as the German dictator Adolf Hitler to protest against Prime Minister Narendra Modi-led government. During his act outside the parliament building, Sivaprasad said, pointing out at the photo of Modi, that I fell because of my authoritarianism. You will see your downfall as well. The most severe and widespread drought in decades is threatening the livelihood of many farmers in New South Wales of Australia. The rainfall in the state's west, northwest and central areas was less than 10 millimetres last month, comparing to the historical average of 96 millimetres at the same period. According to the state government, 100% of the South Wales land area of more than 800 and 300,000 square kilometres is now in drought. Toothache is not a serious illness, but it really hurts, not only for humans, but also for a 1-year-old tiger in a safari park in southwest China's Yunnan province. The big cat was found losing appetite a week ago, and yesterday, veterinarians gave it anesthesia and checked its teeth. They found 3 molars in the back have serious problems, with one suffering from serious gingivitis. Gum problems are quite common for old and juvenile big cats. World Lion Day came early for London Zoo residents yesterday, with Asiatic lions being treated with new toys. Lioness sisters Heidi, Indy and Ruby looked pleased to find the Asiatic lion enclosure filled with specially designed boomer balls, enrichment balls for large, strong animals to play with. Asiatic lions are from India's Gujarat province and are classified as endangered, with only several hundreds of the animals believed to remain in the wild.
We will join you with some sports news after the short commercial break.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Sheila Fernando is at the Derana Weather Centre with your forecast first evening edition.
A very good evening to our viewers and welcome to Forecast First. Starting off with your temperatures for tomorrow, that to vary between 20 and 35 degrees Celsius with the highest of 35 expected along the coastal line from Mullaitivu to Batticaloa. Well, when looking at the map, a low pressure zone will develop in the western province and will gradually disappear. Well, several parts of the island including Jaffna, Mannar, Anuradhapura and Trincomalee will experience the sunny weather, while the areas of Kandy, Colombo, Galle and Matra as well as Hambantota will experience showers with thunder activity also expected. That's all from the Weather Centre tonight. Up next is your city by city forecast.
With a daily dose of positivity in your Good Story of Week, we take you to Afghanistan. Afghanistan's only women's orchestra, Zora, was established in 2014 at the Afghanistan National Institute of Music in Kabul. 18-year-old Headstrong Negin is Afghanistan's first conductor and defies all hardships to follow her passion for music. Unimaginable for Westerners, these music students risk their lives every day for the simple fact that they are making music. Muslim extremists not only despise music or dancing by women or any Western music as non-Islamic, but any education for girls or women beyond learning the Quran. The recordings of the Only Women Orchestra have received overwhelmingly positive reviews all over the world and shows how the idea of one young girl can transform the international perception of her country and bring increased awareness to women's rights issues. And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.